In this video, I want to share with you why I stopped publishing low content books and what I do instead. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And I do want to start this video off by saying that what I do, the kind of books that I publish, or what online businesses I have and how that I run them is totally personal to me. And I'm not saying that this is the way that you should do things as well. It's really important with anything that you do that you find your own way to do things and find what works for you, because what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you in the exact same way, and vice versa. And that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from publishing books on Amazon KDP is that I just had to sort of find my own way. When I started publishing books back in 2019, I basically just sort of copied whoever was being successful at the time with publishing low content books, and I just did whatever they said was a good thing to do. And guess what? It didn't really work for me. Not to the level of success that they said that they were having anyway. When I started with low content books, I kind of came in around the time when it was really starting to get popular. There were already quite a few publishers in the low content book space that were making a lot of money. So for the people who I was learning from when I was on YouTube or on blogs trying to learn about this business model, they had been publishing low content books for quite a while, probably a couple of years or more before I had even started. And probably at the time that they started publishing books, it wasn't really a well-known business model. And these people were making money publishing thousands of low content books like notebooks, journals, and sketchbooks, and even logbooks. What had worked for them the few years prior wasn't necessarily going to work for me. Now, let's just pause here so that I can define what I'm talking about when I talk about low content books specifically. Low content books are books with little to no words within them, and they have repetitive pages. And this is also how Amazon defines a low content book. Amazon recently acknowledged the fact that low content books are a thing, and they gave it a definition and they gave it a specific set of guidelines and rules within the Amazon KDP system of what a low content book is and how we can publish low content books. So things like notebooks and journals, they have lined pages within them, and those pages are just repeated over and over. There is no other type of page within a notebook or a journal other than a lined page. A logbook is also a low content book. These logbooks have the same page repeated over and over throughout the book. And sketchbooks are basically just a book of blank pages. So now that we've sort of defined exactly what low content books are and what I'm talking about when I talk about low content books, what I focus on now, we have started referring to as medium content books. And I'm also starting to focus on high content books, but I'll talk about those a little bit later in the video. When I did first start my Amazon KDP journey, I was lured in a little bit by the promise of a quick and easy way to make money, make passive income. Making a lined notebook is extremely easy, very quick, and with the potential of making thousands and thousands of dollars from making notebooks. Of course, I was going to give it a go. So let me now go through what it was that eventually made me stop making low content books for good. First of all, I found it pretty boring. I mean, I love notebooks myself. I love stationery. I have a whole drawer in my desk overflowing with notebooks that I bought, even though I don't need them. I have way too many. I just like notebooks. But actually making them, I just didn't get any enjoyment out of it at all. Considering that notebooks are just books of lined pages, you really only need to make the interior once, and then you can use that interior over and over for every notebook that you make. And then you basically just spend your time making different covers for these notebooks. But for me, this kind of got old pretty quick. Plus, I just didn't really like the quality of Amazon's notebooks. I personally prefer my notebooks to have hard covers, which at the time, Amazon did not do hard covers. And so being only able to publish a fairly lowish quality paperback as a notebook. I just didn't like putting up a product that I wouldn't like and buy myself. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the paperback books through Amazon are low quality. I'm specifically talking in that sense for notebooks. Personally, I feel like notebooks need to be quite hardy. They need to be books that aren't going to be damaged easily because they're constantly being opened and pages flipped and put into bags and things like that. So I'm only talking about notebooks where I feel like a paperback just isn't suitable as a notebook. But for all the other types of books that you can publish through Amazon KDP as a paperback, activity books, coloring books, and even just novels that you read, I think their quality is completely fine and on par pretty much with any other print-on-demand supplier out there. And so then there was the fact that notebooks are sort of like a churn and burn type of thing. You just publish hundreds, even thousands of them with the hope that just a small percentage of them will actually sell. And I don't really like making things that for the most part aren't going to sell. I kind of feel like that's a little bit of a waste of a time. And I really don't like the instability of that kind of thing and not knowing which books are going to sell. Notebooks overall is just a pretty broad niche and you never know which ones are going to take off. And that's not the kind of business that I want. Being in a really broad niche makes it also really hard to target and market to a specific type of customer. Another reason that I stopped making low content books overall is that I just didn't enjoy making any type of low content book. I find that most low content books are sort of boring kinds of books. Log books are usually pretty formal and kind of boring. Not all of them, but most of them are, and I just didn't enjoy making them. Now, there are low content books like logbooks that are extremely useful to some people, but that didn't really negate the fact that I just didn't enjoy making them. And it's easy to think that you will be happy by making a product, even if you don't like the product or even if you don't enjoy making the product, but you're making money from it. You think that the fact that you would make sales from it would motivate you. And for some people, that might be true. For some people, the motivation might come from the fact that you will be making money from it. And that might work totally fine for some people. It might work totally fine for you. But for me, I also want to enjoy what I'm doing. I find it incredibly hard to motivate myself to make a product that I don't like or I don't enjoy using myself or I don't enjoy making. The things that I did enjoy making were the kind of books and the kind of niches that people said not to go into and not to make, primarily because they were books and niches that were too saturated. I'm talking about books like coloring books, activity books, and puzzle books. That's what I really liked making, but for so long, I didn't do it because other people said not to, that it was too hard or that they'd already tried it and they didn't sell anything, they couldn't make it work. It was too competitive that they couldn't get sales. Now, the next reason that I did stop selling or publishing low content books is because those kind of books, for the most part, people expect to be at a fairly low price point. And because there's also no emotional connection to these kind of books, customers are not willing to pay a higher price for them. And added to the fact that there is so many low content books available within Amazon's marketplace, if you do try to price yours a little bit higher than the rest to try and bump your royalty up a little bit more, or because you feel yours is better or higher quality or whatever it might be, for whatever reason you feel that yours is worth more than the rest, that doesn't matter because the customer is more than happy to skip over your higher priced book and buy one of the thousands upon thousands of other low content books exactly like yours, but is just priced cheaper than yours. There are types of books that you can create that do create that emotional connection or some type of feeling within the customer where they forget about price, they don't care about the price, they just want the book. And that's a lot harder to do with low content books. Another reason why I stopped making low content books is that the niches that are available for low content books are generally mostly smaller niches with a lower level of demand from customers. And I'm not saying that low content book niches are too small and you won't make any money, but all the big niches, the money making niches, are all the ones that are for medium content books. And people generally go one of two ways when they do start publishing publishing books with KDP. One is to create and publish books in a smaller, less competitive niche, which also means it has less demand and you will sell less, much easier to sell books in due to the lack of competition, but also make much less due to the lack of demand. But do this enough in those smaller niches and eventually you can build up a pretty substantial income from that. The other way that people go is to pick a highly competitive niche, or what some people love to refer to as a saturated niche, and publish a book and then get to work at getting that book into the search results and figuring out how to make sales somehow. The demand in these niches is so much bigger, which means if you do manage to start making sales, you can really make a lot of money, but because the demand is so big and the rewards can be so big, competition is really high. I personally prefer the latter. I enjoy the opportunity to get a book selling in a highly competitive niche because the payoff can be much bigger with a lot less books. And this is why I stopped publishing low content books and started focusing solely on medium content books. Not only do I enjoy making medium content books being coloring books, activity books, puzzle books, and even things like guided prompt journals, but I also really do like the challenge of getting books to make it in a really big, highly profitable niche. When I first started publishing books and I was trying to follow what other people were doing and listening to them whenever they said, don't publish coloring books, you'll never make sales, or don't publish in this niche, it's too competitive, or just publish as many books as quick as you can, get them up so that you'll at least maybe have one or two of them sell eventually. When I did those things, I struggled to make sales. It didn't come easy, and I found the whole process and KDP just really hard and frustrating, and even to the point where I thought about giving up publishing books. But when I started doing the things that I enjoyed, the things that I was better at, regardless of what the rules were supposed to be, things started to work and sales started to come in and everything just flowed so much easier. These are the reasons why I stopped publishing low content books on the Amazon KDP platform. If you're trying to decide what kind of books you want to publish, then you need to think about what you enjoy creating, what you enjoy using in terms of books in your own personal life. What is your skill set? What is it you're good at? What are you not so great at? And also think about whether you'd rather focus on purely just creating the books and publishing them, or whether you're happy to spend a chunk of your time on marketing efforts. All these things and more are going to factor into what kind of books you publish. You just have to find what works for you. If you are a beginner and you have never published any books before, but you have been thinking of dipping your toe in, low content books are a great way to start because they are generally fairly easy and quick to make, and it can really teach you how to create the interiors, how to create the covers, what the KDP requirements are, how to create a sales listing and all that sort of stuff. You can really learn the ropes by making low content books. And if you do decide that those are the kind of books that you want to keep on making, well, then that's great. If you are struggling with making any kind of money with low content books, then perhaps experimenting with other types of books or with the kind of books and niches that do have more substantial content in them might be beneficial for you. Don't be scared to try new and different things, especially if someone tells you not to try something because it didn't work for them. Just because it didn't work for them doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. So if there is something you've really wanted to try or a type of book you've really wanted to publish, but you haven't because other people said it's not a good idea, just give it a go. At least you can say you tried if it doesn't work out. This video has gone through a few of the reasons why I personally stopped publishing low content books. I have a really exciting series of videos coming up very soon about making some different kinds of medium content books. So if you are interested in more medium content book type content, keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.